Good afternoon from the Mountain Weather Information Service. This is Jeff Monk, your forecaster, looking at the planning outlook on the mountains for the week ahead, broadly on the run up to Christmas. In some ways, there's not a lot to say, and I'm just going to show you a sequence of charts fairly quickly, as it does look as if over the next week we're going to have fairly frequent weather systems, fronts and Atlantic lows coming in off the Atlantic, bringing rain, particularly to western mountains, turning to snow intermittently on the highest summits in England and Wales, or occasionally on higher summits in England and Wales, more widely on the Scottish Munros. But even here, from time to time, there will be periods of thaw up to the highest summits. Some uncertainty, but some of our forecast models that are run by the various centres both sides of the Atlantic suggest that perhaps on the immediate run up to Christmas, so that's next weekend, Christmas Eve, it may just be quieter, less wet and windy, and perhaps a degree or two colder, with more clear sky, allowing perhaps, for example, frost in some of the valleys and glens. So I have some charts, courtesy of meteoseal.fr, which are going to show the rainfall, the isobars, which really tells us a good deal about the wind pattern and the general cloud cover over next week. We're going to start around midday on Monday. Cloud thickening at that stage from the Atlantic and rain beginning to reach Ireland and the westernmost islands, the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. Busy charts, so just to point out the east coast of Scotland and England, I think perhaps you can just about spot it with the mouse, and we've got the Irish Sea here, and one possible anchor point is the Isle of Man there. So things beginning to come in from the Atlantic. So if I run through this sequence in 3 hourly steps, by the middle of the afternoon we'll begin to see rain intermittently at this stage around the Irish Sea, getting into some of the western mountains in Scotland, Skye, probably very little into the mainland of the Northwest Highlands. A wet and very windy night on Monday night over western Britain, but the rain stalling, very little of it getting to the spine of Britain, the Pennines, and to eastern Scotland, but a very windy night. And at this stage, for most areas, if not all mountains, freezing levels rising from around 1,000 metres up above the summits. It may just, over perhaps the southeastern highlands, remain around 1,000 metres. And really, there's very little to say about Tuesday. Again, jumping 3 hours. This is Tuesday afternoon. And by then, the rain, the precipitation has pushed eastwards to all mountains. But it may well be that even across the Pennines, easternmost Scotland, that there's very little rain until into the afternoon. Nevertheless, very strong winds, very strong southerly winds, severe gales, severe upland gales, storm force winds on the higher areas, though an abrupt drop later in the day as colder air begins to come in from the west. Indeed, over western Scotland, just as the rain begins to clear late in the day, not sure of the timing, it will probably just finish temporarily as snow on the higher tops. So let's dismiss Tuesday, having been a very windy day and wet day. By the time we get to Wednesday, this is midday Wednesday, the earlier precipitation away. In fact, it's not Wednesday, that was dawn on Wednesday. This is midday on Wednesday now. The rain away, showers coming in. Now, because the rainfall is accumulated over several hours on these charts, it just looks as if it's blanket rain coming back into Scotland, but it's actually discrete showers. So broadly, a showery day on Wednesday, most of the showers on western mountains, and particularly the Northwest Highlands, where they will be very frequent. There may also be a train of showers coming into West Wales, and there may also be form of the Irish Sea coming in lines into the Lake District. But nevertheless, easternmost mountains, blustery day, but generally dry. Higher summits in Scotland below freezing points, so snow perhaps down to 600 or 700 metres here, nearer 800 or 900 metres, in other words, only the highest tops, and perhaps not lying at all over England and Wales. So if we go on 6 hours at a time, broadly speaking, it is still showery on Thursday. This is Thursday evening. Then at some stage on Thursday night and into Friday, the next deep Atlantic low brings yet more heavy rain and gale force winds in. In terms of the amount of rainfall, perhaps on Friday, an improving situation with the rain getting away. This is Friday afternoon, Friday evening, so the rain beginning to get away, but again, at this range, some uncertainty in the timing of the clearance and eventually a drop in rain. So a quick look at the weekend. This is middle of Saturday, still quite a few isobars, so blustery winds bringing those showers back in, freezing levels a little bit lower, perhaps 800-900 metres across Scotland, a little bit higher England and Wales, so beginning to see some snow turn up again. And what I should have said, that with that heavy rain on Friday, there will have been a period of thaw right up to the highest summits. If we jump now to Sunday, low pressure in and about the country, but fewer isobars. And if we jump to Christmas Eve, again, fewer isobars. The different models have areas of low pressure centred in different places. One or two of them have them, perhaps, for example, centred over Wales. But broadly speaking, with slower moving areas of low pressure drifting across the country, more coastal showers drifting inland where the wind brings them inland, but many mountains cloud-free. This particular model then suggests a lovely day for the Scottish Highlands, light winds. It could be that that is actually reserved for England and Wales, depending on where those low pressure areas will be. But certainly, I think as we get into or through next weekend, into Christmas Eve and perhaps Christmas Day itself, there will be areas that are dry, colder, where skies are clear, frost in the valleys overnight, and certainly some areas of light winds. If you are looking for snow over the next week or so, though, it is going to be confined to higher summits, mainly in Scotland, and I think it is still going to be fairly fickle, so that where we do get a dump of snow temporarily, it looks as if it will largely melt again through those warmer periods. And finally, to finish with a chart which shows the accumulation of rain up to Friday night. The colours, again, courtesy of Meteoseal, you can see most clearly the coast of eastern Britain, just to give you a sense of perspective. But the colours, the oranges and going into the reds are very large quantities of precipitation. Broadly, the reds are over 100 millimetres. So a lot of rain to come over the next 5 days in total over many western mountains, a little bit less perhaps over the Northwest Highlands, and certainly much lower rainfall over the northern Cairngorms, Deeside, probably only 12 to 15 millimetres, something like that over there, and also less rain on the Pennines, particularly the Peak District and easternmost Wales. Nevertheless, with the hint of some drier conditions, drier, colder conditions on immediate run up to Christmas, it's not all doom and gloom, so do enjoy the mountains.